Welcome to Podcast Done For You, the show where we make it as easy as possible for you to make the right choices to advance your podcasting career. So let's get started on the show. Marketing magic bullets. Is there such a thing? Is it a myth or is it a legend? Thank you to everyone who's written in and asked me to cover this exciting topic in the Podcast Done For You show. And I'll get to why it is so important to come under the word podcasting in a little bit. But I really want to unpack this whole idea of the magic bullet of marketing. For those of you that don't know me, I've got about 35 years of experience in marketing and plenty of it in podcasting as well over the last little period of time. What I want to tell you from the outset is that everybody is chasing this unicorn. Everybody is chasing this idea of the magic bullet. And the first question I want to ask you is, if you got such a magic bullet, would it actually work? Like, what does it actually mean when people say, the golden ticket, the magic bullet, call it whatever you want to. But is that one thing really going to make all of the difference? I often used to say to people in the old days, back when the internet wasn't as big a thing and people were more driven by what was on the front page of a paper. And you would say to people, well, if I could guarantee you the front page of pick whatever local paper you have, and said that that whole page is going to be dedicated to how great your business is, would it matter? How much of a difference, how much of a blip would it make to your business? Now, we also know that that is actually impossible to do. Like, if you've got squillions of dollars, you could probably buy a front page of a paper, but it's not going to happen. So even in that mythical state, what would it do? So my challenge to you is that you need to think about this. We put all of our thoughts into this whole idea of something that will just change the course of action and really make a massive difference to us. But there's also a very famous saying in TV, not just in TV, in lots of different areas, but particularly in television and media in general, that you spent the last 10 years becoming an overnight success. And it's a little bit like that as well in business. If you think that there's a magic bullet, well, let's unpack that a little bit further, because it's one thing to say that, hey, if you actually had it, would it make a difference? And maybe some of you are sitting there and saying, yes, if we had that, it would make a difference. But actually achieving that, well, it takes energy and effort. So you've all tried lots of things in marketing. I'm sure you have. First of all, you've been to networking meetings. You've tried that. And I'm not saying don't try all of these things, by the way. All these things that we're going to list here today are not things that you should stop trying. I just want to talk to you about what are the things that you've actually tried. So networking, particular kinds of networking. You've probably dabbled in a little bit of advertising from time to time, whether that's in a publication, whether it's Google, Meta, LinkedIn, any number of those different places. Maybe you've been to a conference. Maybe you've sponsored a conference. Maybe you had an exhibition and you participated in that. Maybe you've done the old-fashioned letterbox drop. Maybe you've tried any number of other marketing tools. I mean, social media is the most common one these days. You've flooded social media. You've put your energy and effort into that. You might have done it yourself. You might have hired someone to do it. All of those kinds of scenarios, you've put it together and you've tried and nothing is working. You've tried SEO. And it's failed. I was having a discussion with someone the other day and they were listing a number of things that they've tried, and they're kind of like, we've got to take stock and work out, what is actually working and what's not, because nothing is getting us the results that everybody has promised. And you know what? It's completely true. That's what I said to him. If you are expecting a magic bullet, really, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't. In marketing sense, there is no magic one thing that is going to get you all of the results. The trick is that you need something that is going to give you an approach that is broader, because it is not, all of you have been in business for a little while. If you've dabbled in business, whether you've worked for someone else for a little while before starting your own, or whether you've just dived right in and you're an entrepreneur and you've been working at it for years, it doesn't happen overnight. And B, more importantly, it's lots of things. It's very difficult to say it is one specific thing that has worked and one specific thing that will keep working and working at a premium level for you. There is every now and then a little bit of a blip on the radar. There is something new that comes out and we all jump on the bandwagon, and it works a treat if you happen to be amongst the first ones that have it. And for those 15 minutes of fame and glory for that particular thing, it works wonderfully. But those 15 minutes finish pretty quickly, and suddenly you're back to normal and you're getting the same results with that you were getting with everything else. Here's the fact about marketing. And I've been in marketing for a long time, as I said. The real point of marketing is that it's not about one thing. Not about one thing. You really do have to focus on lots of different areas. If you are putting all your eggs in one basket, well, you're set up to fail. We've done that, haven't we? Nodding your heads. It's you. You've tried, this is it. We're focusing on this, and it's going to get us the results. The truth is, it gets you a little bit of results because you put more energy into it. But the other things that might have been giving you the odd result now have disappeared in the background because you're not putting energy into that. So here's one of the hardest things in business is, where do you put your energy? Because you want that magic bullet, right? And it is, as I said, a bit of a myth. But is there a legend status to it? Well, I'm going to give you a different perspective on the whole idea of the marketing magic bullet. Because it isn't about one thing, it is about doing something that gives to multiple things. So yes, podcasting is absolutely, hand on heart, here we go, hand on heart, you can barely see it there, is the best marketing tool that I have ever come across. Why? Because it's not just about the podcast. Now, you might be tuning in right now on the YouTube channel. Hello, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hope you're enjoying it. Hope you like the cap. Send me a note, drop me some information about it, see what you think about the show, what you like about being on YouTube. That's great. But you may also be just watching a reel on YouTube. If you're watching a reel on YouTube right now and you think that you're going to listen to the whole episode, let me know. But if you're just here to get a snippet of great information about what that magic bullet for your marketing is, well, it's podcasts, and stay tuned for more. Now, that's for the people who are just watching the reels. But what about if you are listening in? What about if you are watching a small snippet, again, a kind of reel that you put on LinkedIn? What happens if you're just seeing a graphic? What about if you're reading an article? What about if you're reading a newsletter? What about if you're reading a blog? What about you reading an article somewhere else? What about if you're tuning into the frequently asked questions section of a website, or reading the about section of a website? What about if you heard some cross promotion somewhere else? What about if you got a direct message? See, these are all the things that can come out of a podcast. There is no other tool, no other marketing device that gives so plentifully to others. It is not just about the podcast. It is about what the podcast gives to furnish all of the other tools that work in little bits and pieces for you. It's what it allows you to do at every level of marketing, from social media to networking. The podcast works a treat for you. And the great thing about it is it takes a lot less time to be able to do and to deliver than if you did any one of those individual tasks. Here's something that I've mentioned in a previous episode of the podcast, but I'm going to fire it at you now. How much time do you spend writing for social media? Now, if we think about LinkedIn, And all the experts out there, and I'm going to say hello to a few of my mates out there who are experts in LinkedIn, and shout out to Kim, to Scott, and to Adam and a bunch of others. If you're on LinkedIn and listening to those great leaders on LinkedIn, they're going to tell you you should post 3 times a week. Most of you aren't posting that often. You have the best of intentions to, but the reason you don't is that it takes you 2 hours on average. I've spoken to many people about this and they all nod their head. I hope you're nodding your head right now. 2 hours from the moment that I say you should post on LinkedIn to that post going live, all of the effort that you put into it is roughly that amount of time. You start to multiply those hours, forget the costs. You multiply the hours of your time that is being spent posting on LinkedIn. It's massive in a year. I mean, it's half a day a week if you're just posting twice. Can you justify half a day a week for one marketing tool? Here's the thing, that if you've got a podcast, for many of my clients, and I'm not here just to sell you what I am doing, but I'm just giving you an example. For many of my clients, we have a 2-hour conversation 4 times a year. That's 8 hours a year in total that they spend recording a podcast. It's 15-minute episodes or 15 to 20-minute episodes that go out every 2 weeks. Do the maths. We get 6 episodes out of every 2-hour session. Now, from that, they get a whole content workbook with so many posts as well included. Articles, blogs, all of those things that we talked about before, as well as me giving tips and tricks along the way of what you can do to utilize the material in your marketing and in the different marketing channels you can use. All of those that I listed earlier are all available through the art of a podcast. There is no other tool that will do this for you, because the heart and soul of a podcast is you. It is your authentic self. It is your stories, your insights, your information, your interpretation of the lay of the land, your ideas that you've generated, that is what you are putting out into your podcast. That material then gets turned into multiple pieces of other content because it's based on what you have said. It's not about making something up. It's about using what you have already said and what you already believe and turning it into other things. Those things can be generated very easily once you have the authentic base. Like I said, I gift that to my clients in their voice because it's using their voice and using their material. There is no other marketing tool that will do this for you. Now, I am not saying that you start a podcast today and tomorrow you will have leads aplenty coming in. We'd all love that. And I'm not saying you're going to get them all from the podcast. I'm not saying that you're going to magically get hundreds of people listening to your podcast. You're only going to get that if you start telling more and more people about it. So do that. Do that through all of those materials that I've spoken about, socials and websites and articles and blogs and all of those things give you those opportunities to do that. The point of the matter here is that the legend that I referred to at the beginning actually is your podcast. If you work out how much it costs you to furnish some of these other things, advertising is a great example. You spend quite a lot to make a dent. And do you get the same results as if you could furnish it with the free stuff? Well, I don't know. But I'm telling you, if you advertise and there's no content for people to cross-reference and look at, if the advertising is unsupported by general content consistently going out, you are not going to get the same results as those that have it. So, even advertising is not the be-all and end-all on its own. It's not like you have a bottomless pit of money to do it either. In fact, surprisingly, the podcast is not as expensive as hiring a PR agency. I remember working years and years ago. We're talking 20 years ago with a PR agency. And I know what they were charging then. I'm sure they're charging even more today. And they do a great job. I'm not knocking PR agencies at all. I love to work with them because, again, they've got authentic content based on this that we can do. But it costs you less to have a podcast and to be filtering out into all of these other areas than it does to just do that, and they still have to extract the information from you. So the podcast is going to give to those other levels when you feel it's ready. Marketing isn't about doing one thing. It's about doing lots of things. It's about being everywhere. The days of expecting that people would get your newsletter when you chose to send it out and read it because it came physically in the mail are long gone. The news media is 24/7. It is multiple platforms. It is multiple ways that people want to take in information, to absorb it, to use it, to reference it in the future. It's not about them listening or watching or reading everything that you do. It's about zeroing in on them a few times, making sure their subconscious is consistently being triggered. Making sure that the marketing that you produce is everywhere. Because individually, any marketing solution gives you that 0.1%. Think about it. You remember over the years, you might have done it. Letterbox drops. Drop it off 10,000 homes. You might get 10 people that are going to go ahead and make some inquiries with you, and one of those goes ahead and becomes a client. Now, if you're selling a house and you're a real estate agent and you're getting a commission of whatever percentage and you're selling a $2 million house, well then, hey, it makes sense to do a bit of letterbox dropping from time to time because it's going to get you a result and it's going to more than pay for itself. Bit tougher if you're a plumber, but you do it, and plenty of them do. I mean, how many magnets have you collected over the years from various trades? They do it because they get that level of response. They know that there is a degree that they're going to get, but it's not different to everything else. Again, I'm not saying stop everything you're doing. What I'm saying is make it more efficient. The legend that is the podcast is that it is the most efficient, most giving, most authentic, and most endearing and enduring thing that you can possibly do, because that material that you create and then curate is there for a long time and can get reused in other things in the future. You can make courses and all sorts of things out of the material that you've produced from a podcast. But how often do you go back to a social media post that you wrote 6 months ago? It's gone. I mean, you've probably forgotten the one you wrote 2 weeks ago, let alone the one you wrote 6 months ago. But when it's part of a podcast, you don't lose that core information. So if it's coming from there, you've got an entity to try and drag it back and reuse it in different ways in the future, not just immediately. If you want the magic bullet, well, there ain't one. If you want the legend that is the best marketing tool, then there is no better than a podcast. Thank you for bringing this to my attention and for asking me to talk about this topic in some detail today. I hope that you've got something out of it. If you want to have a conversation about podcasting with me, hit me up anytime. We love your comments and direct messages. We love if you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. We will be sure to have a workbook. There are resources available for this podcast and all the episodes we've done. So all you have to do is follow the link in the show notes and you'll be able to access those. Lots of information for you. If you want to talk podcasting, remember, just hit me up. That's all for this show. The legend that is podcasting. We'll be back next time with another episode of Podcast Done For You Show.